hand.
What kind of notch is it?
If you put it right here, you're touching the frontal bone. Your fingers are touching the coronal suture. This finger is right on the sagittal suture. See it?
Yep.
So here you're on the frontal bone with your fingers touching the coronal suture.
Okay.
Middle finger is on the sagittal suture, followed all the way back. There's your lambdoid suture
Okay.
right here. This is the occipital bone.
Okay.
If I turn it on its side, and here's the squamosal suture, squamous suture, and this is the temporal bone.
Okay.
Okay.
When you did these.
Now, when we do this, if we're going to name the parts of the temporal bone,
Okay.
This is the osteon. This is pretty much this.
from anterior to posterior, this is the zygomatic arch of the temporal bone.
Okay.
Your finger is in the external auditory meatus,
Okay.
and this finger is back here on the mastoid sinus.
Okay.
All right. If I turn it this way, these little sharp points are the styloid process of the temporal bone. This is the mandibular fossa, where the mandible goes into. Okay. If we look at the occipital bone, here's the occipital condyles,
I don't know. I just have lamella.
and this is the foramen magnum. That's the two parts you need to know, the foramen magnum and the occipital condyles. Now, when we go inside,
This is a blood vessel.
when we go inside and we look inside, we go greater wings of the sphenoid, lesser wings of the sphenoid, and right there is the sella turcica. And sitting in the sella turcica, my finger would be the pituitary gland. So you have the greater wings of the sphenoid, lesser wings of the sphenoid, and the sella turcica with the pituitary gland sitting there. If I go forward, then right here
Starting from here.
is the crista galli as part of the ethmoid bone. On each side is a cribriform plate. And my stick would be in you, the olfactory nerve, cranial nerve 1, which is your sense of smell. So that's ethmoid bone. But if I come over here, this bone going straight up and down. Can you see in there?
No, that's
There you
right.
go.
Facing
There
it
you
that
go.
way.
This bone going straight up and down,
Dividing the middle.
yes,
Okay.
is the perpendicular plate of the ethmoid bone.
Okay.
Okay? That little ridge sticking out right there is the middle nasal concha, or the middle concha, part of the ethmoid bone. If I come down to the inferior, that's a bone all by itself. That's the ethmoid bone. That's the inferior nasal concha. It's a bone all by itself. This is the vomer, a bone all by itself. Okay? This is the maxilla. If I do it this way, there's a suture that goes right across here. This anterior 2/3 of the hard palate is the mandibular, is the palatine process of the maxilla. This back here, this posterior 1/3 is palatine bone. Okay? When I go, and then this is nasal bone, and if you look right here, that's lacrimal bone, right there where that little hole is. It's kind of hard to pick up. Okay? These are your zygomatic bone. If I go and I begin to name the openings, if I do the openings, this is the foramen magnum. That is the jugular foramen. Here is the internal acoustic canal. I go over the hill, and right there is your carotid canal, and right there is your foramen ovale. Okay, so I'll come in from underneath, where you can see them all, but I got one. That's why I carry so many. Okay, I'm going to come in from the underside. So here's the foramen. Here's a foramen magnum. There's the jugular foramen. Right there. See it?
24 ribs, 12 pairs.
And the ones
So
that
11
are
and
white
12
are
floating.
There's a carotid canal. And here's the foramen ovale. Okay, so the only one I can't see from underneath is the internal acoustic canal. If I come over here, I've got the foramen magnum, the jugular foramen, and the carotid canal, and right here is the foramen ovale. Okay? Now, here are the different openings. Look at them in the eye.
And then when you're doing
The first rib is under your.
Right there is the superior orbital fissure. See
So
it?
you pretend you're counting one, but you're.
And down here
Alright, so let's.
Put in space between the ribs.
is the inferior orbital fissure. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah.
What is
Right there is the inferior orbital fissure. And here, the optic.
Okay.
And right there, that hole,
Alright.
that round hole, is the optic foramen, or the optic canal, because the optic nerve goes through it, okay?
You're
We're
like.
so good at left.
When we look at the mandible, this is the mandibular condyle, it's mandibular notch, this is the coronoid process, this is the ramus of the mandible, and this is the mental, or the mental protuberance, or the mandibular protuberance. We also call it the mentum, the chin, okay? And that's the mandibular foramen.
Oh, that's area.
That's it.
Oh, I thought that was the back.